goodness. Oh, wow! In your life have you seen anything like that?
Kia ora team, and welcome back to a very special edition of The Cut Line, a golfing podcast brought to you by TAB. I am Carl Tiley, and I'm joined by a couple of really good guys, I guess.
Where are they?
So I nearly said a bad word. We'll
start with some really good golfers.
Yep, we go there too. We'll start with Paul Mawari. Paul, how are you, mate?
Yeah, very good. Just looking forward to the big event this weekend, golfing-wise. It's probably the big event sporting-wise this weekend, the Ryder Cup. How good.
Forget the All Blacks. It's all about the Ryder Cup this week. And a man who is in Auckland in level 3, looking forward to some KFC, I know. Tom, how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm pumped. Not only for KFC, but for the Ryder Cup. I think they'll probably go hand in hand this weekend if I get a big family box on Saturday at some stage and chewing on a few wicked wings throughout the night watching the Ryder Cup, I reckon.
Good idea. That'll get you through a couple of sessions, 100%. Very
nice. And we are, of course, gentlemen, awaiting a very special guest. We teased it last week. The great Phil Tataurangi is supposed to be joining us any minute. So we'll have a quick look at last week before he does, and then we can spend majority of the session here on the Ryder Cup, because that's all anyone wants to hear about, really.
Gee, a proper golfer.
Golfer. Yeah.
We're moving up in the world.
Yeah.
One of New Zealand's greats. As I say, quick look at last week. Max Homa, third PGA Tour wins the Fortinet Championship with a sizzling 4 or 5 under in the back 9 at Silverado there. I did it again, guys.
You're good at this.
We talked about it a few weeks ago. You back someone in the morning who's in the mix, not the favourite. I got a max at $8.
Yeah, well played, mate. I mean, looking at that leaderboard, like you said to me, he was probably the guy that stood out with the most credentials. And a couple of those other guys sort of fell away, and you just was an easy watch down the stretch for you in the end.
It was. Well, he finished round 3, I think, 5 under in the back 9 as well. He certainly in some form. A little bit shaky there in the walk-off eagle on 13 or 14 was a big help after a bogey the previous hole. But yeah, once he got the lead, it sort of never looked in doubt, Paul.
Yeah, it's all about that bounce back factor. Like you say, he bogeyed, I think it was the 12th, and then bounces back with an eagle on the very next hole. So some players, those sorts of mistakes, they can compound, and you drop a shot on a hole, and then you can see them dropping shots on 3 of the next 4 holes. It just gets worse and worse and worse. But for Max, it sort of bounced back, and it almost sort of goes over the top of his head. I've had a bad hole, and it's good. He's got a terrible memory. If he gets about it, moves on to the next hole, bang, picks up that lost shot and another one. So it's really, really good for Max. I had a look back at his sort of career, and I guess with professional golf, it's a very, very fine line between being successful or going the other way. And I think for him to actually qualify for the PGA, he was in some tournament where he had to birdie the last 5 holes just to make that on the final round, just to make it. And if he hadn't done that, we could very well have not heard of Max Homa ever on the PGA Tour in any significance. So it's just fantastic to see. I hope that Phil can sort of fill us in, and maybe those sorts of things, how sort of easy it is to be just on the wrong side of qualifying or getting your card or winning a tournament, or missing the cut, not going anywhere at all.
Yeah, big season for Max. Obviously won at Riviera earlier in the year as well. Yeah, earlier this year. So they have 2 wins in pretty close succession. I expect we'll see a lot more of Max Homer in the coming years.
That's
Especially in California.
Yeah.
pretty impressive to birdie the last 5 holes to plan for your tour card. I've been in positions where I just need a bogey the last 5 holes to have 38 points, take a prize, and I don't think I've ever done
38 points, you burglar. That is disgusting.
Back in the day, we've been trimmed down a bit now.
In a true Randy Orton style, you boys would have been very happy with your now, I'm guessing, favorite Chilean, Maito Pereira.
Yeah.
T3 out of nowhere.
How good.
Yeah, it must have been a big collect for you boys.
Yeah, did all right, a little bit on him. So I think, what was he paying? $16 top 5. Bolted in there. Happy with that. Top 20. Ding, ding, ding. I think the one we missed out on last week was actually John Rahm. I know we sort of said he probably was a lock, but pre the Ryder Cup, did we just miss probably the ultimate opportunity to lay him and chuck him to miss the cut? I mean, 2 practice rounds is probably better than 4. Gets the weekend off, prime for the Ryder Cup. I don't know what he was paying to miss the cut, but I feel like maybe we missed an opportunity there.
Yeah, prayers for all the birdie bonus punters who took our advice and backed.
I did not guarantee that. No.
We did not. No, we said we do not guarantee that. And one of my picks last week, Ches Reavie, was the first round leader. Of course, I did not back him as a first round leader, and he faded terribly. But I thought I was on the mix there for a little bit.
You were in the mix for a little bit, but there's that fine line again where looking really good after round 1 and then just fades away.
Good to know we're all on the right page though. There's a lot of names we threw up last week that landed pretty close to the top of the board. I think I had Max Homer to win his group.
Unfortunately, you had that as a double.
Sucks. Yeah, Kevin Na sucks. So he was. I don't even know how Kevin Na missed the cut. He was 3 shots off the lead after the first round.
Yeah,
and just blew ass. I mean, I know how he missed the cut. I tend to blow ass like that all the time on the golf course, but tough scenes.
Yeah, big time.
Paul, any other takeaways for you from the Fortinet Championship?
Not really. Pretty much my whole focus, even during the tournament, was looking towards the Ryder Cup this week, because I know that Tom got a head start on us, having done a whole lot of prep last week, a week before the Ryder Cup. So I've had to play a wee bit of catch up, and I think I've found a couple of gems punting wise. Well, I hope I have, in regards to the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, nice. Blinkers on. Just quickly before we do move on to the Ryder Cup, I'm sure, Paul, were you following the Portland Classic on the LPGA? Jing Young Ko gets her 4th LPGA title, I think.
Won quite easily in the end.
4 shots.
And birdie the last with a nice lengthy putt, but didn't need it. She was quite comfortable, and it was quite a hilly wooded course. I guess Portland, you're always going to get that sort of cloudy, sort of overcast, even during summer, I'm guessing. And it was certainly that way, but Jin Young Ko was just way too good in the end. From tee to green, I think she was just absolutely superb. So thoroughly deserved to win, and they move on. Yeah, I wasn't on her, unfortunately.
I was going to say, Paul, I thought you would have been if Lydia's not playing.
I'll back another Ko.
Yeah.
Of course, Jin Young Ko not eligible for the Solheim Cup.
No, she's not. Look, that's enough stalling, I think. Phil will be here soon. Let's move on to the Ryder Cup. That's why we're all here. As you say, Tom had a week's head start on us, so I'm expecting some fireworks from you, Tom.
I might have blown myself out. It's been a week.
At the obvious starting point, Bryson versus Brooks. How's this going to affect Team USA? There's been a little bit of chat floating around socials and different golfing online magazines, I guess, saying that the feud is over, or they're very close to being buddies now. Tom, your take?
Oh, I think it's sort of a temporary a temporary stop on the feud. I think for this week they've decided to shake hands, talk for a couple of minutes for the cameras, and they'll basically do their own thing. They certainly won't be playing together. And then once I don't know, once if they're on a victorious Ryder Cup team, you might see the sort of tensions simmer a little bit. But if they lose, it wouldn't be at all a surprise to see, especially Brooks, come out and potentially bag Bryson, or put some little backhanded marks Bryson's way. So I think for this week we won't see too much from them. But if they do lose, heaven forbid, I dare say it could be fireworks all over the USA team. They tend to sort of implode when things go wrong.
Here's a situation for you, Paul.
Yes.
We're day 3 Ryder Cup. We're into singles. Bryson, last man out, and USA need half a point to win the Ryder Cup. Bryson is tied in his match, heading down 18, and blows it. What is the fallback for him from Brooks look like that next day?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the rolling eyes emoji. Look, these two, this could be one of the biggest halves of all time, in that they've just built up this rivalry to get as big a slice of that social media pie.
Yeah.
Because there's no doubt that those two will be right at the top at the moment in terms of social media, digital media presence. So it could be a huge have. I don't think it is.
You're saying that you think they might be best mates?
I wouldn't say that, but maybe Brooks people spoke to DeChambeau's people and they said, let's get something going here. I don't think that is the case. I think they don't like each other. I'm trying to put it nicely. They don't like each other. So what do? You either keep them apart, and I think in previous Ryder Cups, some of the Americans, they've been broken down into smaller teams, like 3 teams of 4, and they've sort of become their own groups within the team. They could do that with DeChambeau and Koepka this time around, keep them totally separate, or they could put them all together, put them both together in the 4-ball, because their rivalry might sort of get each other to play better. That they may actually play better if they play together in the 4-ball, and absolutely smash their European opponents. Otherwise, you just keep them as far apart as possible, and then go, you're on team blue, you're on team white, whatever, and hopefully it works out that way. I think we've got someone who actually knows a wee bit about golf.
This is perfect timing.
Yes.
Welcome to Phil Tataurangi, to the cut line. You've come in at the perfect time, Phil. As I say, we're just discussing Bryson and Brooks and what the hell is going on in the USA camp this week.
Yeah, kia ora, guys. Nice to be on with you. Really good call and a good question, in the sense that I think everything that's been brewing, everything that's been in the media over the course of the last, it's really kind of been out and being talked about by themselves, as much as it's the punters and the media over the last 6 months or so. But this has been brewing for about the last 12 or 18 months, and there've been other different contributors from the outside or around the fringes that have added a little bit of gasoline to the fire as well. So it quite literally is something that hasn't simmered down. It's just been parked for a week whilst they wear a slightly different set of clothes, or the same set of clothes, put it that way.
And I guess as a man who's been involved in some team golf very successfully in the past, what do you make of Bryson preparing for the World Long Drive Championship that starts, I believe, on the day after the Ryder Cup finishes, so it'll be Tuesday our time.
It is an interesting one. It really is. I must admit, if I was the other 11 members on the team, you'd want to think that your teammate, once they got through with the FedEx Cup, that this was mostly the next biggest priority on their schedule. And it seems like Bryson has been doing quite a bit of work on next week's event on his schedule. And I don't know, maybe some of that, doing that preparation might actually help him this week as well. It would be easy to make the assumption that it would be detrimental. But is it a distraction? And you got to wonder if the other 11 guys are thinking, I'm not sure all of what he's doing right now is the best way to prep for getting 5 points over the course of the 3 days at the end of this week. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. He certainly does march to a different beat, even a different. I think if Steve Stricker is wise, is you let everyone prepare how they prepare. Brooks, in his Golf Digest interview that got released here this past week, commented as much that every other week of the year, as individuals, you prepare your own way. You play 18 holes of practice round, you play 36 holes, you play a pro-am, you hit balls, you work out, you do whatever you do to get the best out of you. Yet it seems this week they're highly scheduled, and so maybe actually letting players just do whatever they do is the best way to get 12 individuals to come together and play the team.
Yeah, I'm going to throw Tom here. I know someone who likes to grip it and rip it. Your take on Bryson and the long drive setup. I know you sat through his press conference today, or all of the press conferences today.
Yeah, I think he actually sort of said that the blisters on his hands were actually before the FedEx finals and not this week or last week. So whether or not he's sort of being truthful there, I don't know. It's just going to be really interesting. Like, obviously the whole sort of narrative around Bryson is that he can't play in the foursomes because he plays such a different game. Whether or not they sort of hold true to that, I don't know. Like, there's sort of two ways of thinking, I guess. I mean, he plays his own way, but if you can put it down there as far as he puts it down there and then get someone like Morikawa or someone else that's sort of a gun, short iron or long iron player, could be devastating. But at the same time, whether or not they'll risk that, I don't know.
Not sure Morikawa has much experience playing out of the rough.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, is there going to be much rough?
Yeah, good question. I don't suspect there will be much right off the edge of the fairway. I think the setup that was at Hazeltine and the setup that was at Golf National a couple of years ago will be the setup that's employed here. And the couple of key things that stick out for me is that the Americans are longer on average. Their iron games, certainly statistically across the PGA Tour, are sharper, and the golf course, I'm sure at times, whether it's across all the foursomes, the four balls and the singles, whether it's across all sessions, and we're expecting some wind as well. Whether it's right off the tips or whether there will be a couple of different setups that that Steve Stricker doesn't get to control, but he's had some heavy conversations with Kerry Haig about, and the US team prepared for that. There's a couple of holes where those setups could be quite different. Might not necessarily mean that bombing it 350 off every hole is what's required. It may well be about the angle, and Whistling Straits has a little bit more of that.
Phil, have you played or been to Whistling Straits?
Yeah, have been to Whistling Straits. Didn't play in either PGA Championship that was there, but have been. Have spent quite a bit of time on site, but haven't actually played the golf course. But yeah, look, I'm intrigued to see how the golf course is going to play if the winds do kick up. I think there's a bit more equity than a lot of people are expecting there to be across the likes of Matthew Fitzpatrick versus a Bryson. There's no two doubts about it. If you're 350 and you're in the middle of the fairway, the game gets easier. But a peak die design really quite strategic in a lot of areas, and so what's clear with a couple of Steve Stricker's picks is that length is an asset, and so that may well be giving us little insight as to what the setups may well be. And on some holes with the 967 bunkers that are out there at Whistling Straits, if these are not off the back, it may well be that they're on a set of tees where it can take out some of that trouble. And so 315, 320 through the air all of a sudden puts you in a totally different position on a particular hole. So it doesn't necessarily need to play right off the tips for there to be an advantage.
Paul, how about that? Some serious golfing insight. Not something we see a lot of here on the cut line.
No, we don't actually see any of it on the cut line. So it's refreshing. I just wondered if we could get an insight from Phil, being part of the 1992 Eisenhower Cup winning team.
The MVP.
Exactly, the best. What was it? I think 9 under, 1 stroke ahead of Michael Campbell. So, and if you have a look at the United States team that finished in the silver medal place, there are a couple of fairly handy golfers in there, David Duval and Justin Leonard. So, I mean, you were playing some very, very good golfers. The Australian team had some very, very good players as well. This was a top-notch tournament. But I wondered, behind the scenes, how did the team dynamics work? Did you guys room together? I mean, were you rooming with Cambo? It's Eli. Oh, crikey, snores. I couldn't get a good night's sleep once. Or does everyone have their own room? How does it work? Do you all get together beforehand and work out a team strategy, or how did it work? Just before you answer that, Phil, just on top of that too, do you buy into all this stuff around the team dynamic in it? This is, the Europeans love this event because of the team aspect, whereas the USA teams seem more individual. And how did you guys, as a New Zealand team, approach that tournament as well?
Yeah, I do buy into it. I think the more members you have on the team, the more the dynamic actually counts. We were only a 4-person team way back when. Nobody can remember that at the Eisenhower, and budgets for New Zealand golf at the time certainly didn't have in a room on your own. And why the hell would you want to do that? Christ's sakes, we were mates. We were all kind of kicked around with each other. We'd spent the better part of the last 4 or 5 years playing in tournaments, kind of leading up to that stage. So we're all pretty good mates. But there were a couple of personalities in that seemed to gel, and so I did room together, and Stephen Scarlett and Grant Moorhead room together, and I think the dynamic that was the undercurrent in our team, and I think it's most probably the case certainly in the US team, and you've seen that throughout the last few cups, is it's highly competitive. In a stroke play competition that I've made kind of no bones about speaking to different groups over the last however many years it's been, is that we all want to just beat each other's brains out. We want to be the lowest scorer on the team. And if we all kind of took that mindset, kind of parked ego, but wanted to beat each other, most we're going to shoot the lowest score that we could, add 4 lowest scores that we could together, and you most probably got a winning recipe, right? In match play, it's totally different because performance for the first 2 days is dependent upon what your teammate's doing. And so, although 4 guys are sitting on the bench for those 4 sessions, the likelihood is that they're going to be in for at least one of the sessions. And so you got to try and keep basically 12 guys ready to go just in case. Rory's going to play every session. You most probably got to expect that Justin Thomas is going to play every session. Jordan Spieth most probably going to play every session. So therefore, that team dynamic and being nimble on your feet and saying, okay, I most probably expect that these guys are going to gel together, play well together. Azinger kind of came up with his pod system a few years ago, which has been well trotted out on both sides of the on the European team and the US team in both the Solheim Cup and this Ryder Cup. And I think that actually breaks the team of 12 down into smaller groups where you're mostly not going to play with that guy over there who uses a totally different golf ball, who plays a totally different style of game, and so you don't have to focus on maybe kind of out of left field on playing with a player I really haven't spent much time with. Practice in their pods, and therefore it makes as captains and all the data that they've got on different players, if they need to tweak a couple of teams, they're kind of tweaking it, not actually moving mountains to from a dynamic standpoint. So there's just so many different things, and I've only spent a couple of times with a couple of Ryder Cup captains and vice captains, the data that they go over to try and find the ideal pairings, and then it's kind of like a bit of a coin toss as to who they're going to be playing against, whether you're actually going to get a point. So there's a lot of data that goes into it, but I do wonder at times whether it's overcomplicated and guys just don't get to just go and play.
How much as a professional golfer, how much stock do you put into the equipment and the balls in particular? I know, for 3 hacks like myself, Tom, and Paul, the difference between a Pro V1 and the top of the range TaylorMade and a Bridgestone, we probably can't tell the difference. But there's a lot seems to be made about who was it, Furyk, and who got paired with Furyk a few years ago. They had no idea. They got told half an hour before they'd never used that ball before, and how is it as rattling as the players suggest it might be?
Well, it is in foursomes, right? Because the other 2 formats you get to play your own ball.
Yep.
In the foursomes, getting players matched up with a very similar golf ball is mostly more important than if they're mates. If they because I guess the decimal points of performance really do correlate to the ball coming off the club face. Being able to control yardage. You threw out there if Bryson was playing with a Colin Morikawa, let's say. So one's using a Bridgestone ball, one's using a TaylorMade ball, and Bryson's mostly going to hit 50% of his fairways or less. So what tee shots does he hit? Morikawa coming out of the rough in positions he mostly his eyes haven't set up. And he's also doing it with a foreign golf ball. and then you throw some elements, wind and whatever else, and he's a Ryder Cup rookie, and you kind of throw all of those different dynamics in, and you go, yeah, and he hits a poor shot, and you go, oh well, it could have been any one of a number of different things. So really matching guys' equipment, matching guys' golf balls, I think is equally as important as matching their styles of play and their camaraderie.
Tom, how many different brands of balls do you have in your bag?
I was going to say I play with a Pro V1, and then as I've got out of bounds on my left, I'll switch to a top flight or whatever else I've got in the bag, because I don't want to lose the $9 Pro V1.
That switch to that one that's called practice.
Yeah.
Right, so
Paul keeps those ones in his pocket, and when he gets in a bit of trouble around the trees, he just drops one out. I've seen it happen. That's
unbelievable. That is not a true story. If I played with Pro V1s, I'd be bankrupt. It's just I would not be able.
Paul, you play with them where you don't think you're going to lose them, and then they sort of seem to last a bit longer.
Yeah. I still haven't worked that part of the game out either, where I don't think I'll lose them. When I'm in the car.
Well, we find the Pro V1s now, at least. Who's big they do.
Okay. I've got another question for Phil. You are US captain. You are Steve Stricker right now.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any pairings you definitely don't put together? Without, obviously you're looking from the outside in, but if you look at that team, are there any two players you go, I'm definitely not going to put this player with this player, either because they probably won't get along, or because their games are so different, they probably won't gel, or they,
Yeah, I think there's less of that on the US team. If I'm Padraig Harrington, I think there's quite a mixture of personalities across and different games across the European team. Across the US team, when you have a look down there, no one's short, right? So everyone hits the ball off the tee, most probably, to be fair, other than McIlroy and Rahm, further than everyone on the European team, maybe for Wiesberger, but no one's short. And there are a lot of very similar characteristics. So I think from the styles of play, maybe not as much separation from the players on the US team. One of the things you're mostly not gonna see is a couple of rookies together. There's a lot of experience to be able to shed that around. Having said that, there's I am expecting to see a couple of the rookies actually play prominent roles in the US side. There's 6 of them across here, but you wouldn't necessarily term Xander Schauffele a rookie, someone who hasn't played a fair bit yet, even though Morikawa, this is his first go round in a Ryder Cup. When you've won a couple of majors in the last 12 months or so, you've proven that you can kind of handle the heat under the top conditions. I think his back actually might mean that he might not play every session. He's saying all the right words, but everyone's saying all the right words at this time of the game. I think you'll see length play with length in four balls. I think in foursomes you'll see some iron play operators play with driving operators. So when I say that, you have a look at a Tony Finau and a Dustin Johnson, who are long but pretty straight. They've got that combination. You'll see them playing with players like Cantlay, like Spieth, where they their strengths are generally their iron game, their approach game. Justin Thomas is all round. I think the unknown really is going, who's going to play with Bryson?
And how much does Bryson play?
Yeah. He played in Paris, didn't play in the four balls, but he played in Foursomes with Tiger and Phil, and we know how that turned out. I think basically, just to give you the insight, all the Jordan Spieth had kind of carried the load for the US team, playing with Patrick Reed for a couple of team competitions. It was time for someone else to pick up the slack, and Tiger had just come off winning the Tour Championship, and as the leaders of that side, right, they kind of stepped into that role. But what a massive bogey it was, to on so many different levels, levels. But it's going to be a different golf course, different test, different makeup this time around. And so the question will be, does Bryson play foursomes? Because it's just really hard to pair him. When you've got 11 other guys that mostly really easy to match up. From a four-ball standpoint, pretty easy to pair him up, right? He's going to play an attacking style. You mostly pair him with someone that's maybe a little more staid. But I don't think DeChambeau and Koepka play together because I'm Steve Stricker, right? I'm Steve Stricker. If I'm a different character, yeah, I might even just throw that out there. But I don't think Steve Stricker's doing that, and I don't think the other vice captains he's got and all the team are saying, "Yep, that's the way we're going to punk these Europeans." Is throw those two together.
I think Scotty Scheffler sounded like he's got a decent relationship with Bryson. Could be paired with him, like you say, in the four ball. It doesn't matter as much, and then looking at, like you say, what they did last time with sort of Spieth having sort of taken a bit with Captain America. I sense JT could be a guy that could play with Bryson as well. I mean, him and Spieth, they're going to be sort of not willing to break them up, but if they cop an early loss or if things are going different, the way I've heard JT talk about Bryson or talk about playing with Captain America, he sort of, I don't know, it sort of seems like he's got a way to get through to those guys and sort of egg them on and deal with them. So he could be another option.
Yeah, Finau's Mr. Nice Guy too.
Yeah.
He really is. And so Tony's just going to say yes, sir. It's pretty much what it comes down to. He'll contribute. He's got a voice, but if Stricker says jump, he'll go how high.
I saw on Twitter earlier this morning, our good friends, we do not know them at all, but No Laying Up are on course. And they cited this morning playing the 18th alternate shot, Harris English with Tony Finau and Brooks Koepka with Daniel Berger.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. There's particularly the Koepka Berger, just what you're sort of talking about there, Phil, playing someone that can beat the crap out of it, and then someone who's pretty consistent with the iron play.
What will be interesting for me over the course of the week is how the Ryder Cups and President's Cups dominantly are won and lost on the putting surface. Who makes key putts at the right time. It's not just the highlight reels, but I think the making putts, getting the crowd involved at the key moments play a huge role in momentum, and so be interesting for me with the greens at Whistling Straits being quite small targets. Therefore, there's mostly not going to be quite as many 30-footers made. And you have a look at putting proficiency from inside of 15 feet, and some of those 15-footers are going to be par savers. And so those that mostly is where I see some of the key putting for this Ryder Cup. Maybe not so much from downtown or outside of 30 feet.
Paul, what's your preferred format of the foursomes versus four ball to watch?
You mean to watch?
Oh, or play, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So
God, I can't imagine playing around with you. Foursomes.
I've played in a few charity, what do you call Ambrose tournaments. And so I do like the foursomes because you can quite often be put in a situation that you're not familiar with after, even if your partner has hit the ball exactly where he usually hits it. This could be a foreign sort of approach for you. It's always a foreign approach for me and Ambrose.
Especially with you.
Because I'm usually hitting from the middle of the fairway in Ambrose, and I have no idea what that feels like when I just play stroke play. But what I want to know is, last time out, Team Europe had Mollywood.
Yep.
Do we see another Mollywood? I mean, we won't see the Mollywood this time, obviously, but do we see somewhere where Padraig can grab a couple of players and all of a sudden they just gel and bang? And who do you think those two might be, Phil?
Yeah, good call. Good call. It did a little rough look at this, and I wonder if it's it could be Fitzwood or Fleet Patrick.
A bit of brainstorming going on there.
I can see those two gelling. Couple of Englishmen that are maybe a little more unassuming than the big stars, and could be taken a little bit lightly. Is not the right way of putting it. No one's taken lightly in this format, but maybe aren't the superstars that are on the other side, and they're not John Rahm and Rory Mcilroy here. You know that Ian Poulter is going to be, every match he goes out in is going to be a very keenly contested match. Generally doesn't get blown out, whether it be foursomes, four balls. Hasn't lost in the singles, so his match just about every time he tees it up is going to be competitive. I'm really interested to see how a young Victor Hovland goes.
Yeah.
I think he may be a bit of a wild card, quite literally, for the European team, in that he's pretty fearless. Doesn't have the resume of some of the others just yet, but I think may play a quite a pivotal role for a rookie.
Yeah, could we pair him up with Mcilroy, or pair him up with Rahm and have Ramland? Something.
Yeah, no way.
I think you're gonna see that. I think when you have a look at the experience that's across the board there, Garcia is going to play just about every session. I think if his game is on, and it's certainly been trending in the right direction. I think the likes of a Casey and an Ian Poulter might be guns for hire for the foursomes. Really consistent ball strikers, don't tend to get out of position too often, and really gritty competitors with getting the ball up and down. I think the flash of McIlroy, of Rahm, of Garcia, even Bernd Wiesberger, who's a rookie, and they'll kind of get around him. What has he had, 7 or 8 wins on the European Tour? So, it hasn't done it just yet, but he kind of got a pretty close look at Rory winning a PGA a couple of years ago, and so he may be someone that I'm expecting will play with an experienced player the first couple of sessions if he gets to tee it up and foursomes and four balls.
Let's do a quick whip around of who you think the marquee pairings will be for each team. Tom, we'll start with you.
In terms of Europe, it's tough in that. Like I think if Rory and Ram are going to sort of captain the European team, and then it's sort of I think you put Victor maybe with one of those two to make a really strong pairing. I think obviously for the States, I think JT and Spieth will be their sort of go-to guys, Fizz merchants, captains. Yeah, I'm not sure what else you guys think, especially with the European team, how they sort of cut it up. What Phil was saying before was quite interesting.
Paul?
On the European side, I do like Hovland getting matched with one of the more experienced guys like McIlroy or Garcia. But I think I don't know. I think maybe someone like Ian Poulter getting matched up with Fitzpatrick. I think they might go very, very well together. On the American side of things, I just like the look of players like JT and Jordan. I think JT, if we look, like Phil said, Tony Finau's Mr. Nice Guy, so he'll just get put with whoever Stricker says. He probably won't even get asked who he would prefer to go with. He'll just get told, you're going to be playing with this guy, and and it won't bother him at all. But I think someone like Cantlay would probably go really, really well with someone like a Xander or someone like a JT. I just...
Well, Cantlay and Xander were undefeated at the President's Cup, I think, in 2019. So they were one of the...
They've already got a wee bit of history there. They've already got a... Yeah.
I had them circled for the US team as well as JT and Spieth. I think they'll be paired together. I'm kind of going a little bit differently from you guys for the Europeans. I could see Rahm and Garcia playing together. They're pretty close mates, I believe. Obviously countrymen as well. And same with Rory and Shane Lowry.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Another, Lowry's a rookie in the sense of a Ryder Cup. So putting him with one of the, the alpha of the team, essentially. They're good mates. I could see those four. And when I'm sort of looking at my betting, we'll get to it shortly, I had those four and Fleetwood playing all 5 sessions. I don't know who you put with Fleetwood and whether that's a constant or he's sort of just moves around a few pairings.
Yeah, good call, Carl. I had similar sort of pairings that I was looking at. An X Factor pairing, and I just kind of wonder if Stricker might go there in 4-ball is Koepka and Johnson. And I say that from a healthy competitive standpoint, that the two of them will just want to be making as many birdies as they possibly can, just trying to be the alpha dog to each other, really. That being a second or a third team out in one of the 4-ball sessions where the crowd is really involved for multiple different reasons, that if they could get something going, that would be quite exciting. Maybe as a TV fan as well, that would be quite interesting, the dynamic, to see how they would go together. The interesting one for me is the personality of Tyrrell Hatton. He's a bit of an oddball, and I say an oddball. I love him. I love that he's a bit of an oddball, and so I'm trying to think, who the hell's Tyrrell Hatton matching up with? I think a couple of the other things that pairings there, as you guys have picked out, are fairly straightforward. I think that the European side's going to go that way. So I don't know. I'm going to put my hand up, and I just don't know where Hatton's going to where he's going to fall, where he's going to get his. He got picked up 1 point there in Paris. So
he played with Casey in Paris.
Yeah, look, and I don't.
Different course.
I don't know if the Casey personality with the Hatton personality. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it does or doesn't.
I could see him and Poulter gelling quite
Poulter.
well together.
It'd be like the perfect storm.
Perfect storm, really angry, really emotional. A lot of club throws, a lot of fist pumps. That would be a hell of a watch on TV anyway. I'm just thinking back to the European Tour social media and the angry golfers. So good.
Yeah.
Be very good to see. This is a betting podcast. We want to try and get to some betting shortly. Just quickly, does form, Phil, in your opinion, form matter when you come into a Ryder Cup? Like DJ, Rory, Spieth, Casey, and even Hatton have seen this course and done all right in 2010 and 2015 in the PGA. You look at the last 10 weeks of, I've got the stats here somewhere, the last 10 weeks, the USA team combined of, where are we? I've lost it. They've had like 4 or 5 wins, a number of top 10s and all of that.
Experience on the golf course counts, but form on all the other golf courses they've been playing up until this point doesn't really count.
Yeah.
I think it's a different beast, and there's a different set of conditions that you're playing under in a team match play format than playing 72 holes of stroke play and on PGA Tour golf course setups. So totally different. Does Ryder Cup experience help? Yeah, I think that counts for something for sure. I think the dynamic of being around again at the Ryder Cup and having all of the things that are slightly different than you normally have when you're just preparing yourself is another thing to weigh into some of the rookies or the guys that are just playing either in the second go round. I think Tyrrell Hatton was kind of a fish out of water, even though they had a successful campaign. He was a fish out of water in Paris with everything else that was just kind of going on around the Cup. So I think the stability of a Casey, even though he wasn't a captain's pick, the stability of a Casey-like personality, the stability of a kind of an old dog like Dustin Johnson, who's kind of been around it, and there's all of this stuff that I wouldn't normally do in a tournament week, but it's kind of just part of the Ryder Cup, and I've got to deal with it somehow. That all counts, but as it pertains to form through the FedEx Cup and major championship season, maybe doesn't matter quite as much when it comes to 18-hole match play.
Nice. Who are you taking if you're betting on a winner for the Cup, Phil? Where's your money going?
I'm always a European fan. Always a European fan, and I bet with my heart, not my head. I heard, I was listening to a podcast just the other day as to why the rest of the world most probably lean that way. The US play team competitions every year, right? And we have the President's Cup, which we've been unsuccessful at as internationals. But for the most part, we've had our asses handed to us because they're quite literally how unbalanced the teams match up is pretty much how it works out. But when it comes to the Ryder Cup, what people's achievements on paper in 72-hole stroke play events doesn't actually transport or correlate to the last 6 or 8 Ryder Cups, and so that 18-hole match play component is a totally different dynamic in world rankings. As lopsided as they are, been very little. So I'm a European fan. I really enjoy the way that they go about their business. I think the US team feel like they're in a bit of a rebuilding phase of sorts. A couple of young guys who who are not inexperienced in championship golf play, but haven't played a lot of team golf are a part of their side. There's no Mickelson. There's no Woods. Mickelson will count for a lot, however, as a vice captain. I expect him to actually be quite influential as a mentor for someone who's not actually going to hit a ball. I think he has the respect of a number of those young guys, even a guy like Thomas and Spieth. That are still young guys, 28, 27, 28 years of age, but they get a lot out of Phil, and the positive rub actually can translate into points. But my heart's with the Europeans.
It's music to my ears, and I know Paul will be feeling the same. Europe out to $3 now, Paul.
Yeah, loving that. I just want to touch on Phil did mention the President's Cup there, and of course we've only just had the Solheim Cup played a few weeks ago, and I had a look at the women's world golf rankings, and 14 of the top 20 players in women's golf aren't eligible to play in the Solheim Cup. So do we need something along the lines of a President's Cup for the women so that all of the best female golfers in the world can actually take part in something like this? I'm not saying they should be part of the Solheim Cup, but I'm saying surely there's a place for all of the Asian, Canadian, Australian, New Zealand women golfers to be able to take part in a tournament like this as well.
You just want another chance to bet on Lydia.
Yeah, 100%.
Genius, Paul. No one's ever thought about that.
So when's it going to happen?
It's a really good point. And I mean, you've got the powers that be. They've got to make it happen some stage, right? I think the dominance for the international woman, or non-American, shall we say, non-American, non-European women across the women's game is stark. So generally, these team formats, these team competitions, or the Ryder Cup most definitely started because of history. It's now become a cash cow. The Solheim Cup was started to have a women's version, but it's heavily sponsored. And the President's Cup is most definitely a cash cow for the PGA Tour. And so I think the way to get around this is, if it makes money, then it'll happen. If they can't make money out of it, unfortunately I just don't see that the most will fly.
Interesting. Watch this space. Paul's going to get something up off the ground, and we'll all be behind it. Right. Let's get to what we're here to do. Want to have a quick look at the last 10 results of the Ryder Cup. Europe have won 7 of the last 10. The home team has won 8 of the last 10. The Miracle Medina in 2012 and Oakland Hills, the exceptions there. I got stuck into a documentary on the Miracle of Medina the other night. Wow, incredible. Team Europe have won, where are we? So what I said, they've won 9 of the last 12, 12 of the last 17, and 7 of the last 10. They're $3 this week. Paul, I know you love that. Do you?
I'm all over that. Yes.
All over that. Do you give them? I know you're all over it because of the price. Do you give them a serious? Do you think they can win?
Yes, I do. As Phil said, the sum of the parts don't always add up. If you just line the two teams up against one another, then you'd say that the Americans would probably win. If it was just singles, just a stroke play tournament, you'd say the Americans probably win 9 out of 10 times. But because of the format, and it's more of a team event as opposed to an individual event. I think that just brings the Europeans into it a lot more than what it looks like on paper. So, yeah, I'm very, very happy to take the $3 on the Europeans to take the cup. I might have a little stab on the tie as well for them to retain the cup.
Tom, you've done 2 weeks of prep here. Where are you looking at in the outright market? You said last week you'd probably steer clear of it. Are you still?
Yeah, my heart's with Europe. My head is with the USA. Just sort of listening to how the sort of last Ryder Cup was perceived from the United States perspective. They turned up to that course in Paris and were sort of shocked with how narrow the fairways were. And they sort of, I mean, it's been going on for a long time in terms of sort of making hometown advantage count. But I feel this year we're going to see some serious hometown advantage for the States in terms of the rough not being so penal, advantaging their longer hitters that we've talked about, and also the greens there will be sort of quicker than I mean, most of the European guys are obviously used to putting on PGA Tour greens, but I think they have overall better putters, bigger ball strikers, and a hometown crowd, which we probably haven't seen before with COVID and having very little Europeans in the crowd. So I think everything's stacked against Europe this year. I'm still supporting them. I still think it'll be pretty close because they never say die, the Europeans. But I just think that there's too many things in the States' advantage for them not to win this time, especially with sort of their, the rankings and all that sort of point towards them being rather dominant.
Very nice. Bill, I know you have to get out of here in a second, so I just want to say thank you very much for joining us here on the Cut Line. We would be honoured to have you back sometime in the future if you can handle talking golf with a couple of guys that know nothing about golf. That'd be great.
And me.
Do I have to bring a couple of Select Pro V1s next time? Or
Oh yes, that'd be great.
Or more to the point, boys. More to the point. Some Callaway Chrome Softs.
Wow.
We can afford some of those maybe.
Yeah. Before we go, Phil, I just want to, if you're going to have a bet, what's your best bet of the tournament?
Ian Poulter to win his singles match, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that going out on the limb? Rory Mcilroy to play every session. Yeah, look,
who's your top point scorer for US and Europe? It's a bloody good one. I mean, form would suggest that when I say form, Ryder Cup form would suggest that Justin Thomas is most probably coming off of that go round in Paris, and his his experience over the last couple of years being one of the premier players on the PGA Tour. He's got to have to be a rock. It'll be interesting to see how Cantlay goes. Really will be. With certainly his fast finish to the season. I've kind of got this feeling, and it's kind of a weird one. Rahm obviously he's the best player on the planet. Forget about where the PGA Tour Player of the Year votes went. He's the best player on the planet right now. But I always, and maybe this is the romantic in me, I've always got just a question mark around Rory Mcilroy and when will Rory pop? Yes, that's what we want.
When will he pop? And pop in the right direction, obviously. And I just wonder if this event, because he's basically since the last 18 months, since last March, when he was on 8 here, and everything was looking great for a green jacket, the world changed and his game hasn't been the same since. And I just kind of wonder if this format when taking the little bit of the focus off his own game, and in doing so, all of a sudden there's just something else that sparks with him. He may be really influential in that Ryder Cup team, and that European team, and that's hardly going out on a limb, right? when you have a look at how much influence he's had over this team over the last handful of cups, but I just wonder whether he might just catch fire.
Very nice. You might hear a little bit more about that if you listen back later in the week when we get to our betting. I'm fired up for Rory. But Phil, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate your time and your insight into golf and the Ryder Cup this weekend. So go well, enjoy the cup.
Likewise.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Phil.
Cheers, Phil.
Boys, that was great.
How good?
How good.
Yeah.
Some serious insight. I'd love to do a deep dive into the career of Phil Tataurangi one day. Maybe we try and get him back on and do that, because he spent a lot of time on tour, on the PGA Tour, probably not as successful as he would have liked, I would imagine. Did have a couple of wins, but some incredible insight. And I feel like the last little conversation there has led us right to where we need to be, and that is betting. We're a betting podcast. Let's do it. I'll start with you, Paul. Well, actually, we're gonna have $200 each this week. Normally it's $100 to divvy up. So I hope you've thought about that. Have you guys got top point scorers in your tips this week?
I've got a European top point scorer.
Okay. Maybe let's just go down the list. Paul, we'll start with you. Where is your $200 going?
Okay.
And why?
I'm going $100 on Europe to win at $3. Once again, as you say, even though the home team has a significant record, would you say the last 10, 8 of them have gone to the home team. The 2 that didn't go to the home team went to the Europeans on US soil. So they know how to win in the US. The fact that it's a link style course, I think, sort of leans it slightly more towards the Europeans than if they're on a more sort of run-of-the-mill PGA Tour type course. The wind getting up, I think, brings the two teams slightly closer together as well. And I just like the overall feel of the European team too. And I'm glad that Phil said that this is probably the time when Rory is going to go bang, because he's also going to feature in there as well. So $100 on Europe to win at $3. I also like the foursomes format for the Europeans. So I'm putting $25 on Europe to win the day one foursomes at $270. And I've got another $25 on Europe to win day two, the day two foursomes at $270 as well. So there's 150.
Johnny, here a nice little stat that you probably won't like, actually.
Oh, bring it on.
This is from Justin Ray on Twitter.
Yep.
Incredibly, Europe has not led after the opening session of the Ryder Cup since 2006. They are, of course, playing foursomes in the first session.
They are.
Just FYI.
Yeah, that's it. So
records are broken, though, aren't they?
Day one, day two, Europe to win those foursomes, both at $270. And now I've had a wee bit of sort of an each. No, I haven't. I'm taking top European point scorer. I'm going with Rory Mcilroy at $6. $25 on Mcilroy to be the top. I think, first of all, you have to find a player who's probably going to be playing in all 5 sessions.
Yep.
He almost certainly ticks those boxes. And I just think, well, Whistling Straits, I think it's sort of like a horses for courses, and I think he'll be very well suited there. So 25 on him to be the top European point scorer at $6. And my last 25, I was tossing up between the top US point scorer. I just couldn't make my mind up. I was tossing up between Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas. So I left that one alone. I went to the top European rookie. I think Victor Hovland will probably get a fair shake of the sav as well. So I'm going to put 25 on Victor Hovland to be the top European rookie at 172.
Nice. And that's your 200 gone?
That's it.
Very nice. We are very close to be singing from the same song sheet this week, Paul. Very close. But I'll go to you, Tom, the man with 2 weeks prep. I'm expecting 1,000 bets here. For $200. What do you got?
Look, well, I knew you boys would be sort of hard up the European train, so I thought I'm going to go a different route here. And from what I've sort of gathered over my weeks of study, is that the USA are going to win, but it's going to be close. So I'm going to the power play option, and I'm going to have $100 on the States USA to win by 1 to 3 points.
Wow.
Like I said, I think it's going to be close, but I just think they've just got too many things in their favour for them not to be winning, although I do think it's going to be close. So I'm happy with 100 on that. In terms of the first day, I'm looking at the 4 bulls, and I think the States have a slight advantage here, but I also think it's quite common for there to be a half in one of those matches. So I'm happy to have $20 on the 4 bulls day one score. I'm going to have the USA 2.5 to the Europeans 1.5 at $5.50. In terms of the Americans, JT is the favourite. I think a guy who's going to play potentially all 4 teams rounds with him, and has a good chance to be their top point scorer is the one and only Jordan Spieth. So I'm backing Spieth to be the US top point scorer at $8.50. I'm going to have 20 on that. Now, looking at a couple of these power plays are awesome. There's some serious options here. There's one that I really liked.
How far down the page are you looking, Tom?
I'm going way down there. I'm looking at USA to win. Rahm to be the top European, should play all 5 sessions. JT top USA at $31. That's just too juicy for me to be sort of leaving out. So I'm having 20 on that. And I just think that's hallelujah. I could be catching up to Paul on the leaderboard here. I could be wiped out as well. I'm also looking at another power play, USA to win, and Xander top USA rookie at $5.50. Again, USA to win with what I'm looking at here, and Xander is a good red hot chance at being the top rookie. So I'm going to take him. It's another 20. That's 180. My last 20 is going to go on Sergio to be the top European point scorer. Experience, Spanish flair. You're playing with Rahm as well, we think maybe. So between one of them, we should be in the money there as well. So obviously Rory's got the tick of approval from you boys, but I'm happy to spec Sergio at 10s.
Nice.
I believe that's my 200. Wow, that was just money pouring out, and hopefully money pouring back in on Sunday.
Gosh, I'm so excited for this weekend. I'm so excited to watch this.
Sorry. Yeah.
I am going. I'm steering out of the outright market. I will be having a wee go on Europe myself, but for this competition, I'm steering clear. I'm going day one foursomes, and I'm leaning hard into that stat I threw to you, Paul, that Europe have not won a first session since 2006. I'm going 50 on USA to win that first session at $2. Don't really need to say a lot about that. Then I'm looking at the power plays. Either team to win a session 4-0 on day 1 or day 2. So that's 4 sessions, 2 foursomes, 2 4 balls at $2. I'm going to have 20 on that at $2. I can easily see either of the teams pulling away with a 4-0 a 4-0 session. And then the rest of mine are in top point scorers markets. USA, I am with you, Tom. I think you said Jordan Spieth for USA. Like you, I think he will play all 5 matches with JT. He was 3rd at Whistling Straits in 2015, so definitely knows the course. His career, he's got a very good career match play record. Teams match play record 15, 4 and 3. Singles 12, 12 and 2. So not so great in singles. I don't think he's ever won a Ryder Cup singles match. But team aspect huge there. If he can, 4, 3.5 points with JT, then that's a good start.
Runner up here in the US Open as well.
Third, yeah, 15. Then top point scorer for Europe, 20 on Rory Mcilroy at $6. He is the alpha of this team, although not the best golfer in the world anymore. I think they will all be looking up to Rory. As Phil alluded to, everyone knows that I'm a big Rory fan and maybe another hopeless romantic, and I just can't wait for him to bounce back, and this could be it. His record in match play also very good. Teams 12, 8 and 3. Singles 32, 17 and 3. This is career, so this is not just Ryder Cup, just FYI. Then I'm going 10 on Rory for total combined point scorer at $12. European rookie. Paul, I thought long and hard about Victor Hovland. But then I thought longer and harder about Shane Lowry. I really think he's going to be paired with Rory. He'll play all 5 sessions. If they win their four team sessions or close to, then he's in a really good spot. He loves that link style of play. Obviously, former Open winner. 50 on Lowry for European rookie. Top point scorer at $2.50.
Yeah. So if him and Rory are picking up a few points in those foursomes on day one, I'm a better chance of Europe winning the foursomes on day one as well. I like what you're saying.
Finally outsmarted me. And then my last 30, I'm going to the top wildcard point scorer markets. 20 on Spieth at $4.50. I think he's the favourite there. And then a little $10 note on Shane Lowry, $8.10. Just covering my bases there. And that's my 200. Plenty there for the punters between the three of us and what Phil was throwing out too. Paul, I believe we've got a promotion on the Ryder Cup too. We teased it last week. If you're not ready for it, I have got it.
We can't be doing a birdie bonus on the Ryder Cup. Surely we can't be.
Not a birdie bonus.
Right.
We're going for a Ryder Cup multi-buster. So listen carefully, folks.
Oh boy.
Place a 3+ legs, so 3 legs or more, Ryder Cup multi, and get a refund up to $50 as a bonus bet if your bet misses by 1 leg. Simple, right?
It sounds simple.
I'm rubbing my hands together.
Yeah.
Friday night.
This plays very, very nicely into the first, all of the sessions really. You know, four picks in a session. You take 3 of those, or you take all 4, and miss by 1, bang.
Right. Tom's got me I've got to put my multi-buster on. Got my hot wings coming. This is huge.
I think tee off is like midnight on Friday or something. How long before that are the pairings announced for the first session? Do we know?
I don't know.
I should probably know. I've been studying for two weeks. I don't know.
You would think the first session they will name maybe the day before. But then the second session on day 1 might be
half an hour before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to the multi-buster punters out there, be aware of that. Just yeah.
I assume does that have to be pre-match as well, or you can't sort of go live multis?
Yes, pre-match.
Okay, cool.
I believe. Yep. All right. Should we leave it there? I
Let's
would
do it.
continue talking for another 2 hours about the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
But I think
We
we
had
got
Big
enough.
Phil on the program. We had Big Phil.
Phil, very good. Yeah, that was great. Boys, if you got nothing else, enjoy the Ryder Cup. Have a good rest of the week. Tom, enjoy your KFC. Don't eat too much. You need to be alert for these all these multis you'll be putting on.
Yeah.
I'm fizzed. I'm absolutely fizzed, boys. It's going to be a hell of a weekend.
Huge.
It is. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. As I say, enjoy the Ryder Cup. Enjoy the punt. Good luck. And we'll see you all next week here on the Cut Line. Cheers.